The taxi's engine hummed beneath me as Sacramento's familiar streets rolled past, each turn bringing me closer to a homecoming I'd dreamed about for months. My fingers traced the edges of the carefully wrapped gift in my lap, Dad's favorite cologne and an envelope thick with cash, my way of saying I love you without words. For 3 years, I'd been the invisible thread holding my family together from 2,000 miles away. Maya, the dutiful daughter who worked double shifts in Seattle's rain-soaked restaurants, wiring $1,500 every month to keep the lights on in the house I'd never see. Maya, who paid for kitchen renovations she'd never cook in, car loans for vehicles she'd never drive, and emergencies that seemed to strike with clockwork precision. At 34, I'd convinced myself this was love, sacrifice without recognition, giving without receiving, existing as a bank account with a heartbeat. But tonight was different. Tonight, I was coming home. The neighborhood looked smaller than my memories painted it. Cracked sidewalks still held the ghosts of childhood chalk drawings, and the same sagging porches whispered secrets through peeling paint. My childhood home sat dark against the December evening, no warm glow spilling from windows, no familiar silhouettes moving behind curtains. Here's good, I told the driver, stepping onto the sidewalk where I'd learned to ride a bike, where Dad had taught me that scraped knees heal but broken promises leave permanent scars. The doorbell's echo died into silence. I knocked, waited, knocked again. My calls went straight to voicemail: Mom, Cashin, Diana, all unreachable. The house felt abandoned, like a body without breath. Maya, is that really you? I turned to find Mrs. Patterson from across the street, her kind face creased with surprise and something else, something that made my stomach clench. Long time no see, honey, but, didn't you go with them? Go where? The words felt like cotton in my mouth. To Bali, big family vacation, left 3 days ago, looked like quite the trip, designer luggage, talking about resorts. She paused, studying my face. Oh dear, you didn't know, did you? The gift bag suddenly felt impossibly heavy. What about Dad? Her expression crumbled. Oh, sweetheart, the ambulance came 2 weeks ago, heart attack in the backyard, took him to County General. I thought surely you knew. 2 weeks, 14 days of Dad lying in a hospital bed while I worked late shifts, planning this surprise visit, while Mom posted sunset selfies and my siblings clinked glasses filled with liquid purchased by my overtime hours. The math was brutal in its clarity. They'd left him to die alone while vacationing on my dime. County General, I whispered to the cab driver as I slid back into the seat. The city blurred past through tears I refused to let fall. Streetlights became streaks of gold, each one illuminating another memory of sacrifice. The kitchen remodel I'd funded, $8,000 so Mom could host dinner parties I was never invited to. Cashin's car loan, $400 monthly so he could drive to jobs he never kept. 3 years of choosing instant ramen over restaurant meals, of skipping vacations, of telling myself that family meant everything. They'd made me complicit in my own abandonment. County General smelled like industrial disinfectant and broken dreams. The fluorescent lights carved harsh shadows across faces that had learned waiting was another word for hoping. At the information desk, a nurse with tired eyes typed Dad's name into her computer. George Ramos, 6th floor ICU. Are you family? His daughter. She looked up, something soft flickering in her expression. No one's visited, not once in 2 weeks. I'm so glad you're here. The elevator climbed through my disbelief, each floor number a countdown to a truth I wasn't ready to face. Room 623 sat at the end of a corridor that stretched like a gauntlet, all polished linoleum and the kind of silence that swallows sound. When I pushed open the door, the man in the bed was a stranger wearing my father's face. Tubes snaked from his mouth and nose, machines breathing for him with mechanical precision. His cheeks had hollowed out, skin paper thin and gray under the unforgiving lights. A plastic bracelet circled his wrist like a quiet accusation. Patient has no emergency contacts on file. No emergency contacts. After everything I'd given, everything I'd sacrificed, I wasn't even listed as someone who mattered. I sank into the bedside chair and reached for his hand, still warm, still calloused from decades of construction work, still wearing the wedding ring he'd never removed even after Mom started treating him like furniture. His fingers felt fragile, like holding autumn leaves. I'm here, Dad, I whispered. I'm so sorry I'm late. The machines answered with their steady rhythm, counting heartbeats like coins dropping into a well. I stayed until the nurses changed shifts, until my spine ached from the plastic chair, until the weight of betrayal settled into my bones like winter cold. Finally, I pulled out my phone. Mom answered on the second ring, her face filling the screen in high-definition treachery. Behind her, Palm tree swayed against a sunset that probably cost more than my monthly rent. A cocktail sweated in her manicured hand, condensation catching the golden light. Maya, darling, what's wrong? You look terrible. Dad's in the hospital. He's been there 2 weeks. She tilted her head like I'd asked about the weather. Oh, that. He didn't want to come with us. You know how he gets, so dramatic about everything. He collapsed in the yard. He's on life support. A shrug. An actual shrug. We all needed this break. Maya, you have no idea the stress I've been under. Keeping everything together while you're off playing career woman in Seattle. My throat burned. I've been paying for everything. The house, the bills, your lifestyle. Don't you dare take that tone with me. Her voice turned sharp, familiar. Your father will be fine. He always is. We'll come back when we can. I hung up before I said something unforgivable. 5 minutes later, I called Cashin. His voice carried the lazy satisfaction of someone who'd never worked for anything, never sacrificed, never chosen love over comfort. Maya, what's the crisis now? Dad's in ICU. He's not breathing on his own. Silence. Then, yeah, Mom mentioned something. Look, we needed this trip. You're being dramatic. He could die. Then handle it. You're good at handling things. The line went dead. Something inside me crystallized, not breaking, but hardening into diamond clarity. I opened my banking app with steady hands, staring at the numbers that told the story of my exploitation. 3 weeks of resort charges, spa treatments, designer shopping, meals that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. They'd been hemorrhaging my money while I ate cereal for dinner. My thumb found the account settings. One button, freeze account, access revoked, owner authorization required. I pressed it. For the first time in 3 years, I breathed freely. The phone started ringing within an hour. First Mom, her voice reaching frequencies that could shatter glass. What have you done, you ungrateful little brat? Your father would be ashamed. Then Cashin, all pretense of brotherly affection stripped away. You can't do this. That's family money. But it wasn't family money. It was my money, earned through aching feet and grease-stained uniforms, through choosing work over life, through believing that love meant giving until you disappeared. The next morning brought an email that changed everything, sent from Dad's lawyer, dated 8 weeks earlier, before the heart attack, before the abandonment, before paradise became purgatory, a notarized amendment to his will, written in his careful handwriting. Maya is to be granted full authority over all medical and financial decisions should I become incapacitated. Dara and Cashin are to be removed from all powers of attorney. I make this decision with clarity and complete understanding. 8 weeks. He'd seen this coming. Had watched his wife and son plan their escape while he planned his protection of the only child who truly cared. Sacramento Family Court felt like a temple to justice, all marble columns and the kind of silence that demands truth. Mom and Cashin sat across the aisle, their lawyer already sweating despite the December chill. When the judge, a woman with silver hair and eyes like a hawk, reviewed the evidence, her expression grew increasingly stern. Mr. and Mrs. Ramos, she said finally, the court finds overwhelming evidence of financial misconduct and deliberate abandonment of a vulnerable family member. Ms. Maya Ramos is hereby granted full conservatorship over her father's affairs. Effective immediately. Mom's face crumpled like old parchment. Cashin stared at his hands, finally understanding that actions have consequences, that entitlement expires when love dies. I didn't feel victory. I felt clarity. Dad passed quietly 3 days later, with me holding his hand and whispering stories about the daughter who'd loved him enough to come home. His funeral was small, just the people who'd actually cared about him, held in a simple chapel where sunlight painted gentle patterns on worn pews. Mom and Cashin weren't invited. When they showed up anyway, security quietly escorted them out. Later, standing in the cemetery where winter grass crunched beneath my feet, I placed a letter on Dad's grave. You taught me that family isn't about blood, it's about showing up. Thank you for showing up, even at the end. 6 months later, I used what remained of his estate to establish the George Ramos Foundation, providing support for elderly patients abandoned in hospitals, because some betrayals, when faced with courage, become the seeds of something beautiful. I learned that love isn't sacrifice, it's reciprocity. It's not giving until you disappear, it's being seen, valued, cherished. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop funding your own heartbreak. The people who truly love you will never make you invisible, and those who do, they're not family, they're just people who share your DNA but not your heart. Sometimes walking away isn't giving up on family, sometimes it's finally choosing yourself.